Hello friends, this is Chanchal Anthony from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AGIT Mangalore. So today we will be discussing regarding Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm, or also we call it as Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. So here we will study what do you mean by Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol, how it has been implemented, and what are the attacks that can be caused on a Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. Okay. The question of key exchange was one of the first problem addressed by a cryptographic protocol. Okay, so this was prior to the invention of a public key cryptography. So the Diffie-Hellman protocol, Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol, was published in the year 1976 by two researchers, Diffie and Hellman. So it was the first practical method for establishing a shared secret or secret key, what you tell, a shared secret over an unsecured communication channel. So here the point is to agree on a key that two parties can use for a symmetric encryption. So when we go with the concept of symmetric encryption, so we can use this concept in such a way that an eavesdropper cannot obtain the key. Okay, so this is regarding Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. So next we will see how we are trying to implement it, and before moving on to the implementation part, you need to know the basics of Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. Okay, now what is the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol? So Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol is not an algorithm. Okay, it's not an encryption method. It is nothing but an normal secret key exchange protocol. Okay, so it is not an encryption algorithm. So what we are trying to do here is we are mainly dealing with the concept of sharing the key. So it is used to exchange the secret key between two users. So whenever two parties, so for example we consider it as A and B. Okay, so here most of the condition we consider A as Alice and B as Bob. Okay, so Alice and Bob that need to agree upon a shared secret for the duration of their current session. So if they want to communicate, they require a secret key. Okay, so now how it is sent and how the sender and receiver is trying to send it and receive it, we can look at using a Diffie-Hellman key protocol. So here we will use an asymmetric encryption to exchange the secret key. So you can look at the diagram here. So when an original text is encrypted into a scrambled data, and it is again decrypted back to original data. So here we use the concept of public key and something called as a private key. So private key is something which is specific to a user, and public key is something which can be viewed or which can be shared among the multiple users. Okay, so this diagram depicts what you mean by asymmetric encryption. So we are using the concept of asymmetric encryption here. So next we will look into how the implementation is done. So this shows the step in algorithm. So here this is just for you to make, I just reduced it just for you to understand how the entire working happens. So what are the steps in the algorithm, the Diffie-Hellman algorithm? Now, for example, we consider there are two users, Alice and Bob. Okay, so Alice and Bob, they agree on a prime number P and a base called as G. So now this is common, and this is shared by all the numbers. So what happens there is this base G and the prime number P, also we call it as a modulus P, is known by both the sender and the receiver, Alice and Bob, prior itself. Okay, in advance they are known. So now what happens here is Alice chooses a secret number A. Okay, that is nothing but a private key. So Alice chooses a secret number A and sends it to Bob. So in the pattern G to the power A mod P. Okay, so I'll tell you how it is done and based on what criteria, what category you are choosing A. That we'll see in the next slide, but here we just understand how the entire algorithm works. Now next, what does the Bob do? Bob chooses a secret number B again. Okay, so Alice chooses A and Bob chooses B and sends back to Alice G to the power B mod P. Okay, now what happens here? Now next, once you send the data, what Alice does, Alice computes it to find out the key. Now how Alice finds out? G to the power B mod p whole to the power a mod p. Okay, so this is what Alice sends. So what Alice sends here is g to the power b mod p is what Alice sends. To that it applies its private key and then it does the calculation. So same way Bob also computes. So what does Bob do? Bob receives a message from Alice. So what Bob does is Bob calculates g to the power a mod p, which is got by or which is got from Alice, and to that to the power it uses the its private key mod p. So both Alice and Bob can use this number as their key. Notice that p and g need not be protected because it is commonly issued. Okay. Now next we will see how it has been done. So now the pictorial representation shows how Alice is sending it and how Bob is sending it. So Alice knows what is p, what is g, and what is a. Okay, and Bob knows what is p, what is g, and what is b. So now this is how the entire sending and secret key sharing takes place. Now next we'll see how it is implemented using a simple example. So before moving on to how the implementation using an example, we'll just see how the entire pictorial representation is being done of a Diffie-Hellman key exchange algorithm. So this is something which you need to understand and write it for the exam. Okay. So if they ask in the exam the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol, so you have to explain what is Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. This diagram and the explanation is required. Okay, with a simple example. So now here, as I told you prior itself, simplicity, we assume that both A and B knows the base G and modulus P in advance. Okay. So now they participate in a sequence of events. Now what happens, as I told you first, A chooses a random number A, okay, which is a private. Okay. Now how it chooses A? The value should be greater than 1. So the value A lies between 1 and the modulus P minus 1. So it has to fall between 1 and P minus 1. And what it does, it computes a partial key, which is nothing but g to the power a mod p, and sends it to b. Okay, so that is what is shown in the first step. Now second step, what happens? B chooses a random number b. Okay, so Bob chooses one more random number b. Now how he chooses the b? B has to be between 1 and p minus 1, and it computes the partial key g to the power b mod p and sends it to A. Now what happens? On the receipt of A's message, B computes g to the power a mod b whole to the power b mod p, which is nothing but g a b mod p. So this you will understand better when we start solving the problem. Okay. So that has been shown here in the diagram, and once that is done, what A does is, what B does is, after B receives the message from A, after B receives the message from A, B computes it on the same thing. On the receipt of B's message, A also will start computing. That is nothing but A will receive the partial key g to the power b mod p. Okay. To that it uses its private key whole to the power a mod p, which is nothing but g to the power a b mod p. Okay. So now what will happen? They will get a common secret key, which is nothing but g to the power a b mod p. Now both A and B share a common secret key, which is nothing but g to the power a b mod p. Is this clear? So now we will see in the next slide how the entire implementation is done using a simple problem. So hopefully I think it is clear. Now one thing you need to be careful here is, whenever you are choosing a number, okay, now you are choosing a number which is nothing but A or B, it is something which needs to be specifically, it has to fall between 1 and p minus 1. P is nothing but the base. Okay, so it shouldn't go beyond it, or it shouldn't be less than 1, or it shouldn't be greater than or equal to p. So this is one thing you need to be careful enough. Okay, next we'll see how it is implemented. Now here we'll see, we'll take an example of Alice and Bob. Okay, now both Alice and Bob, they agree on the modulus value p, which is nothing but 131, and the base as g. Okay, Now both knows the value of P and G. Now what will happen? A chooses a private key, that is nothing but A will choose a integer which is nothing but A. Okay, Alice, so here we consider Alice and Bob. So Alice chooses an integer A which is nothing but 24 and sends it to B. So how it is sending it to B? G to the power A mod 131, that is nothing but G to the power A mod P. Okay, so 2 to the power 24 mod 131, hopefully I know you need to calculate it. So 2 to the power 24 mod 131 is nothing but 46. Okay, now same way what will happen? B also will choose one more random number, B is equal to 17, that is nothing but Bob will choose and will send it to A. So A is, so how it sends it? 2 to the power 17 mod 131. Okay, so that is nothing but G to the power B mod P, which is nothing but 2 to the power 17 mod 131, which is equal to 72. So now what will happen? Alice will receive one value, that means Alice will receive the partial key, which is nothing but a public key. At the same time, Bob also will receive the partial key which is sent by each other. Okay, so Alice will receive the one which is sent by Bob and Bob will receive the one which is sent by Alice. So now what will happen? Alice and Bob will compute the secret key. So now how it will compute the secret key? What partial key what it has been sent, that is nothing but root to the power 17 mod 131, is nothing but 72. Now consider 72 as one value R. If you want, consider it as consider 46 as R1 and 42 as 72 as R2. Okay, we'll just assume it for R1 and R2. So now what happens here is, now how Alice will compute the secret key is R1, okay, whole to the power A mod P. So here R1 is nothing but the random public key, the random partial key that is computed by Bob. Okay, that is computed and sent by Bob. So it will be 70. First one will be 72, which now A computes to the power A. A is what? 24 mod 131. Okay, so 72 mod 24, 72 to the power 24 mod 131, which is equal to 30. So same way what will happen? Bob also will compute. So Bob will compute what value? The one which is sent by the partial key which is sent by Alice. So Alice has sent a key 2 to the power 24 mod 131, so which is nothing but 46. So once it receives 46, it applies its random number onto that. That is the public key. Okay, so 46 to the power 17 mod 131, which is equal to 13. So now one thing you need to understand here, 13 is the secret key that is shared by both Alice and Bob. Okay, so clearly much larger values of A, B and P are required. So normally what happens, an eavesdropper cannot discover the value even if she knows P and G and can obtain each of the message. Is it clear? Now something you need to understand here is the partial key G to the power A mod P and G to the power B mod P are sent in the clear. Okay, so now what we need to understand here is the eavesdropper, as I told you, with the knowledge of the partial key and the public parameters which is P and G, okay, can deduce the common secret key G to the power AB mod P, okay, which is derived by A and B. So this problem as it is referred can be called as a computational Diffie-Hellman problem. Okay, so one way to solve the computational Diffie-Hellman problem is to obtain A and B from G to the power A mod P and G to the power B mod P, but this entails computing the discrete logarithmic, a problem that is computationally infeasible in the case where P is sufficiently large. Okay, so the integer A and G to the power A mod P are in a sense A's private key and public key. So as I told you, the random number A which Alice chooses becomes the private key for the Alice, and G to the power A mod P becomes the public key. So same way for Bob, B becomes his private key, and g to the power b mod p, what it sends to A becomes its public key. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, the idea of public key private key pair originated generally with this protocol. Okay, so this is regarding Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol. The problem, how you solve it. Is it clear? Okay. Next, we'll see something called as a man-in-the-middle attack on a Diffie-Hellman key exchange problem. This is one thing which is a very important issue that needs to be noticed. Okay. So the Diffie-Hellman protocol, as described in the previous section, can be easily attacked. Okay. So now this diagram, it depicts how a man-in-the-middle attack deals with. Okay. So what happens here? We have something called as Alice and Bob, which we consider A and B, and we have a attacker C. Okay. So now this diagram shows how the entire attack situation takes place. Okay. So now just we'll see an attacker C chooses an integer, like how A chooses an integer A and B chooses an integer B. The attacker C also chooses an integer C, and it tries to compute g to the power C mod P. So that is what is shown here. Okay, g to the power C mod P. Okay, so now as shown in the figure, what happens? C then interprets A's message to B. So now A is, as I told you, A has chosen a integer A and it is computed its public key and it is sending it to B. So now in between A's and B's communication, C will interpret A's message to B. Okay, now what is A sending? G to the power A mod P. But now what will happen? C will interrupt it and substitute it with g to the power C mod P. That is what is shown here, and sends this instead to P. Okay, so instead of sending g to the power A mod P, it substitutes it with g to the power C mod P and sends it to B. Okay, now after this message transfer, what will happen? B will compute g to the power C mod P. Okay, not g to the power A mod P. So what will B compute? B will compute g to the power C mod P whole B mod P. So it is nothing but g to the power BC mod P. So that is what it computes and it sends. Now what will A compute? A will compute g to the power C mod P whole to the power A. So mod P, which is nothing but g to the power AC mod P. So now instead of a common key which is to be shared between A and B, now there is something which is nothing but an eavesdropper who comes in between and tries to create an issue. Now what will happen? C also will compute the two secrets, g to the power A mod P, okay, whole to the power C mod P. So it will be g to the power AC mod P and at the same time g to the power BC mod P. So this is what the common secret key both the eavesdropper C will find out. Okay, so now listen carefully. A and B might think that they are having a secure channel for communication. Okay, this we'll see in the next explanation slide. Okay, now here I have given the explanation also. C chooses an integer C and computes g to the power C mod P. So C then interprets A's message and B and it substitutes a value. Okay, now hopefully I think you have understood how it is getting substituted. Okay, so now what will happen? So as I told you, in the same manner, C also interrupts B's message which is being sent, and B will compute the given equation. At the same time, A also will compute the given equation, and C also computes two secret keys. Okay, g to the power AC mod P and g to the power BC mod P. Now what will happen here? A and B might think that they have a secure channel for communication by encrypting all messages to each other with their common secret. Instead, they doesn't know that A shares the key A to the power GC mod P with C, and B also shares the secret key G to the power BC mod P with C. Okay. Now what happens here? In reality, every subsequent message encrypted by A and intended for B can be decrypted by C. Okay, and possibly changed and re-encrypted with the secret key by B and C. So likewise, every message from A to B can be decrypted and possibly modified by C. So this is a classical example of an active man-in-the-middle attack. Okay. So this attack is possibly because B believed that the partial key g to the power c mod p that it received was from A. Likewise, A believed that the partial key g to the power c mod p that it received was from B. So they neglected to authenticate the source of the partial key that they received. So this could be done for an example. Okay, so now we'll just see how it is implemented using an example. Okay, now just look at the condition here. Here we have what we'll do is we'll take something called as Alice, Hacker and Bob. Okay, so now Alice becomes A, Bob is B and Hacker is something attacker C. Okay, so now a small changes has been done here. Alice and Bob agree upon two large prime numbers n and g. N is nothing but we consider it as P. Okay, P and G. Is it clear? These numbers are publicly known to Alice, Hacker and at the same time Bob. So now what will happen here, as I told you, Alice generally takes a random number which is nothing but 3. Okay, it takes a random number 3 and at the same time Bob also takes a random number 9, so which is private. So now what it does, it calculates A of A, which is nothing but g to the power. Here we have just changed the notations. Okay, g to the power A mod p. Instead of A we are using it as x. Okay, so g to the power x mod n, because you shouldn't get confused between Alice and Bob, Alice A and Bob B. Okay, so g to the power x mod n. So now what it does, it computes the value. So what is the value of g? G is 7. Okay, then x is 3 mod n. Here we are using it as n, but in the session where we studied, we used it as p. Okay, so 7 to the power 3 mod 11, which is nothing but 2. Now what is happening? We are sending this 2, which is nothing but a public key to Bob. So now when it sends A, okay, when it is sending A of A to B, Hacker will look into it. Now next what will happen? It will send it. Okay, now Hacker will find out what is A of A. Now what will happen? Hacker at the same time knows what are the steps and what is the algorithm. Hacker again will generate two random numbers, like how Alice will generate one and Bob will generate one. So a Hacker, what it does, he will generate two random numbers, x and y, same thing, x for Alice and y for Bob. So what it does, it takes two random numbers, because it knows what is the value of n and it knows that the value has to be between 1 and n minus 1. Okay, so it will calculate two public keys which it will try to convey it to B. So now what will happen, taking the random number x and y which the Hacker has generated. Now what it does, it takes the value from A and it holds it. What it will do, it won't send that to Bob, but it will generate its own key and he will send it to Bob. That is nothing but A of T. So A of A is nothing but the key that is generated by Alice. So what the Hacker does, Hacker will hold A of A and it will generate A of T. Okay, it will generate A of T and it will send A of T as a number or a public key which it sends to B. So now since it is something which is happening within the system or out of the system, the person who is communicating won't know whose key it is and who is sending it. So now Bob thinks that Alice has sent that key. So now it will take A of T as 9. Now what it will do, taking A of T as 9. Okay, now before that what happens, Bob will consider its random number as 9 and it will generate one more public key. So now that it creates as B of B. So now A of A is sent to the Hacker, B of B is also sent to Hacker. Now same thing what the Hacker does, Hacker generates A of T and it sends to Bob, and again Hacker generates one more B of T and it sends to Alice. So now Alice has, instead of receiving 8, now Alice has received 4. Okay, and Bob, instead of receiving 2, it has received 9. Now what we'll do, what Alice does, Alice will again consider 4 as the key and it will generate the one more key. Okay, that is nothing but the shared key. Now the same thing what Bob does, Bob also considers this as the key and it will generate the other key. Is it clear? So now one thing you need to understand here is what is happening here. So rather than a communication between Alice and Bob, a communication is happening between Alice and hacker and Bob. This is what is happening in this entire situation. So now what is happening is, you have Alice, you have Bob, now hacker is coming in between and it is trying to intercept Alice and Bob, and it is trying to create its own channel. Okay, so this is what is called as man in the middle attack. Thank you.